All right, so we're giving this another shot. I just got the DJI Mavic Air and I was trying to fly it the other day in this park we're headed to shortly. And unfortunately, the first flight I got maybe 150 feet up, about 200 feet over, and all of a sudden the drone disconnects. So it flies back luckily to itself, but I've never had anywhere near that close any stutter whatsoever out of the Mavic Pro. So give it a second shot. There are a bunch of trees around, mind you, so I fly it straight up. That time I got about 200 feet in the air, straight up. I could see it physically. There were no trees between me and the drone. Disconnects completely. Couldn't control it, couldn't get a video feed. I looked online, there were no real reasons why this should have happened. I'm not sure what was going on. I was using the RC. So what we're gonna try now is essentially the same thing. I'm gonna try to maybe find a more open area. Also position the antennas a little bit differently. I normally face them straight out, so I'm gonna face them up, see if that makes a difference. Long story short, so far I'm really worried about the DJI Mavic Air. It doesn't anywhere near come to the range of the Mavic Pro, which I'm coming from. So hopefully I can get this figured out, otherwise it's gonna be returned. So let's head to the park, try to get some more footage, and I'll see you guys there. All right, so that's the park we tried to fly in the other day. I'm gonna walk down a little bit more to see if maybe there's another park that has more openings, less trees. So let's go explore. All right, if we can't fly it here, I don't know where else it's gonna work, so let's go ahead and try it out. All right, so that time went much better than last. If you notice, we were actually able to fly. It didn't really cut out. The main thing I noticed is how slow it is, just reacting to air, changing direction, changing speeds. Compared to the Mavic Pro, it worked. It wasn't bad, but that's definitely something to note, is that it's not gonna be anywhere near as fast. It's not gonna be able to elevate and de-elevate nearly as quickly as the Mavic Pro. So far, test number 1 failed. Test number 2 went pretty well, but these are about the best conditions you can film in. If you take a look here, I mean, it's a completely open field. So if it's not gonna work here, it's not gonna work anywhere. So I think we need to do some more testing. I'm actually gonna take a trip on a train tomorrow. We're going to a city near the ocean. It should be a lot of fun. You're actually allowed to fly the drone in the city. So I'm gonna try to find some safe areas, obviously. On the plus side, it's definitely quieter. So I noticed that the blades themselves, everything is definitely much quieter than the Pro. So I do have the platinum blades on the regular Mavic Pro as a reference for the kind of noise I'd get. I find that this one's just a little bit lower pitched, which is obviously more pleasing, harder to hear than the higher pitch whine that you sometimes get from the Mavic Pro. What's up, guys? So we made it. We're headed to Klaipeda today, so we're gonna try out the drone there. It's a pretty fun town near the kind of ocean right there, so should be a good time. Let's go check it out. Let's check out the view real quick. Okay. Well, not much of a view. so we got some drone footage. We were able to fly it. I did lose signal again, but it was a little bit further. This time I could credit the drone. It was beyond some buildings. I did have it up pretty high, almost around 300 feet, the limit here. But we got some cool footage. So let's take a look at that now. We'll also talk about some of our thoughts about the drone, and then we'll also go out exploring. I need some food. I'm gonna get a beer, and we'll go to a beach here shortly. I think we'll get some footage at the beach as well. So we'll see how the dynamic range works. Also take a look at the sand, some detail, what can we get out of it. So with that said, let's go get a beer, and I'll see you out there. Got a little something for the wife here in an Amber store. Admittedly, I've been bad in the past about remembering, so tip to any married men out there, dating men out there, definitely think about your wives when you're traveling. It's cool to get them these fun little artifacts and, you know, remind them that you definitely love them. So hopefully she'll enjoy this one. We'll see when I get home, but glad I got her something this time, and it kind of looks like our dog, so it's a cool little tidbit there. So that said, let's go get some lunch.
You tell a single soul what I'm about to say. Christmas Eve is coming soon. Now you dear old man, whisper what you'll bring to me. Tell me if you can.
Wow, this went from a device I hated the first time I used it to something I now love. Let me walk you through what happened, what I experienced. So let me first off say the areas in the city that I flew it are allowed. It was something I looked at a drone map beforehand. I made sure it was safe, and I flew it within line of sight. That being said, I found out as long as you have good line of sight, you don't have a lot of buildings or a lot of trees in the way, the signal problems I saw were mostly negated. You do have times where it's gonna clip a little bit. You may lose signal for a half a second. Let's take a look now in the app where we can actually see a few examples of this. The nice thing with the app is it's gonna record these scenes because you're getting the direct feed, and that's what it's saving to your phone's memory. However, on the device, we're gonna get that smooth scene the whole time because it's recording right to the internal storage, so there's no clipping. What was the biggest game changer for me with this, which actually sold me and made it so much fun, was the sport mode. So sport mode, to be aware, is gonna shut off, as far as I know, all the sensors on here, so you don't have collision avoidance, you can crash this thing. But it just brings it alive. So one of my biggest gripes, initially we talked about this, was the fact that it actually is pretty slow, especially when you're elevating, de-elevating. That's not true when you turn on sport mode. This thing just whips around like a race car. It's a lot of fun to drive. Let's take a look here at a scene where we actually flew along the beach, and we're flying in normal mode here, and then all of a sudden, boom, turned on sport mode, and this thing just whips. You can see here when we actually turned around even, that it's just gonna fly and whip around like a race car. So much fun in sport mode. It's amazing something this small can fly that fast. I was so impressed. So as long as you have a good line of sight, there's no obstacles, I highly recommend turning on sport mode when you're flying this. One thing to be aware of, I did notice in sport mode when we looked at the footage, was you can see the propellers a bit depending on how fast you're going, how fast the wind is. That was also an issue on the Mavic Pro, so I did see on the Mavic Pro a few scenes where I would actually have the propellers fly into the line of sight. If you want to negate that, you could either clip your scene later, or you can choose to slow down, not use sport mode, depending on what you're shooting. All right, so today we're gonna go around, adventure a little bit more. I'm gonna go back to Vilnius tonight, so we got another train ride. I'm gonna try to do some editing for this video, hopefully. All right, so with that said, let's go get some more footage. Back in Vilnius. All right, so we're back in the hotel here. It's been a long weekend. Awesome device. I really went from a hate relationship to love relationship. I honestly thought I was gonna return this after the first time I tried to fly it, so I'm really happy to see that turn around. That being said, there's things to keep in mind. Number one is connectivity is peace of mind. So when you're flying a drone, the last thing you want to have happen is you lose signal, you can't control the scene, you may lose the device. There's a lot of downsides. So even though I was able to figure out how to get this to work, that's something to keep in mind. If you're really worried about peace of mind and connectivity, then you probably want to go with something like the Pro. Another thing to keep in mind with that is this is going to provide you a 720p feed. So let's say you lose the device, you lose the footage, something happens, you're going to have a backup on your phone because DJI backs it up. However, the Pro 2 are going to do that in 1080p. So overall, you're just going to get better connectivity and better streaming out of the Pro and Pro 2. I love that they include internal storage on here. I definitely used it yesterday. One thing to be aware of is you don't get much time when you're recording in 4K. So you get somewhere under 10 minutes, but after 10 minutes, it's going to stop recording. You're going to have to put an SD card in here. So make sure you have an SD card in here. It's always a good backup, but if you need that internal storage, it's nice they included it off the bat. So this is an awesome device. Sport mode just turned it into a whole nother animal. Definitely make sure you try that out, but the first time you use it, make sure you're in an open field, you have no obstacles, because again, it's gonna shut off all the sensors. A lot of people online did say the battery's not so good on here. I didn't find issues. I flew it for a good amount of time. I think you do get about 20 minutes is what I was seeing. I have 2 batteries. I got the Fly More kit, but I only traveled with 2. Up to you. I definitely recommend having at least 1 spare. Having 2 is probably better, and they're not that big. They are smaller than the Pro batteries. So I did flip my mentality. I'm definitely not returning this. I'm planning on probably selling my Pro, and I'm gonna keep this as my full-time drone for the time being. The main thing I have to be aware of moving forward is that I can't fly in an area where I expect there to be interference, whether it's a city where you're allowed to fly drones or whether it's a dense forest. Those are just areas you want to avoid with the Air. If that's where you want to shoot, definitely go with something like the Pro that has RF for its signal. Last but not least, I'm happy I can give this thing a thumbs up. I was worried at first. I'd seen a lot of positive reviews, so I was wondering what was going on, and it was really just the environment I was shooting in. So I give this thing a thumbs up. Definitely recommend it for those who want something portable, light, and easy to carry with them, which was exactly what I was looking for in a drone. So that's it, guys. Definitely hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. It's always a pleasure having you, and I'll see you guys next time.